Well, I told Selena, I hear so much of that. We're the richest nation in the world. And my answer to that is maybe at one time, but right now we have the richest corporations in the world. Our country is sick and poor.
That's why I call it the United Corporations of America.
Exactly.
And let me ask you, you, Paula Jean Swearingen, who was the Democratic nominee for Senate here, others marched on Manchin, I think they called it, in D.C. You were arrested. Did Joe Manchin come out to talk to you folks? Was he responsive? This was just a few days ago.
Right.
Did his office talk to you? What was the interaction?
We've been having Moral Mondays on Manchin. We had over 400 people last Monday, the Monday before this, at Charleston. We marched 2 by 2 to his office. Over 300 people signed the resolution that we were trying to get him to sign on to. You know, raise the minimum wage, the infrastructure bill, you know, all these issues. No, he didn't come and talk to us then. We have sent him messages. We've tried to get him to meet with us. No. In Washington, D.C., we had Reverend Jesse Jackson got arrested with us, Reverend Barber. 23 people got arrested, civil disobedience, trying to get our lawmakers to listen to us and quit feeding us the propaganda. We're not stupid. We know spin, we know propaganda, and we're sick and tired of it. We're tired of being told no. We're tired of being told, we don't care. You're living in poverty. We don't care. You look at this pandemic, what has changed? The minimum wage workers is carrying this country. We went through a pandemic and nothing stopped, nothing changed, because we were essential at that time, and we didn't stop working. We went out there and took the chances of dying. And this country just kept us smooth. You tell me what's changed. It ain't went up, it ain't went down. We've sailed right along because it was already on our backs.
I want to ask you, I want to get more into the state party, but Manchin specifically, who I think kind of unofficially runs the state party.
He does.
There's a lot of corruption with Joe Manchin. I mean, his daughter was basically running a pharmaceutical company that directly affected or poured gasoline on the out-of-control opioid crisis. There's other things that have come out about him and financial ties with the very people he supposedly is against. Coal. There's things with him and the current governor, Jim Justice. For folks that don't know, because I know you know a lot about this, what is the national media not reporting about Manchin corruption? We should say The Intercept just did a story where they got audio of Joe Manchin on the phone with donors and basically telling the donors, yeah, if you want to get a Republican vote, or I think it was, who was the Republican? Escapes my name. If you want to get this one Republican guy's vote who's retiring soon, yeah, just let him know that, you know, he'll be welcomed on your team in his post-political life, i.e., be a lobbyist or, you know, work for you. He just said that very casually, and he, you know, it kind of reminded me of Hillary Clinton, because Joe Manchin, who? Oh, Roy Blunt, the Republican. Because Joe Manchin was talking kind of like Hillary Clinton, who said, like, I got a public position and a private position. He sounded very different in that call with donors than he does, you know, in his interviews with CNN. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't consider myself an expert on everything Manchin, but I will tell you that it's one thing. I mean, he goes on CNN. He very much talks about, you know, the West Virginia Democrat, and, you know, I got to be able to come home and explain things to my people. And we're not who he portrays us to be on CNN and on Fox News. People are generally very unhappy with him, both Republicans and Democrats. What is what he is a master at, and he comes across as very folksy, but what he is a master at, and I will give either him or his staff credit for it, is he's the master of splitting the vote. I mean, if you look at historically where he has different elections that he's been involved in, he is a master of figuring out how to run against the opponent that is less desirable than him. Now, I am one of Manchin's biggest critics. I've voted for him every time that he has been on a general ticket, not on a primary ticket, but on a general ticket. And I had the situation when he ran the last time of him or Patrick Morrissey. Patrick Morrissey was trying to destroy the ACA. I don't think Manchin's a big, I don't like Manchin, but I have elderly parents. I mean, I was in a situation of, who do I want? And he's going to vote a lot of ways that I don't like, but ultimately, which of these two jerks is going to maybe help my parents, and my community, my friends, and whatever. So, but he is
which is exactly where the Democratic Party wants you, by the way.
Exactly. That's exactly where he's the master of getting us in that position. So, a lot of people contacting me outside of West Virginia, like, why don't you guys vote him out? Well, who are we going to vote in? And that's exactly why the party reform is so important, so we can get people in the party and build a bench so that we have somebody who can literally run against him and win. We don't have that right now. I don't know what his plans are. I kind of figure that if he runs again, he might switch to independent. That's sort of what I think his play might be, but I don't know for sure. But there is, if you look in his closet, there are, he has lots of money, he has lots of connections with fossil fuel companies. His family has historically had those connections. The situation, I don't want to drag people's family into it, but if you look at his daughter Heather Bresch, there is a lot of very fishy background related to how she got that job. She's,
she was the chief executive of a pharmaceutical company, correct?
Mm-hmm, Mylan Industries, but she started. They didn't even think that. She was started out as an entry-level person without the right credentials, and somehow or another he made calls to WVU, and all of a sudden she has this degree that we don't think she really had. There's just a lot of stuff. They make the insulin injection things. I'm talking about the EpiPen, yeah. And so, just enormous.
And drove those prices way up.
Yeah. When Manchin's wife was in state government, she was instrumental in getting a bill passed saying that every single school system had to have these EpiPens, so creating the market for them as well.
So to enrich her daughter.
Or to help kids.
By enriching the family.
There's a lot. There's a lot there, and it's important to know too that Joe Manchin. Back in the '80s, Joe Manchin lost a run for governor to Charlotte Pritt, and then Joe Manchin and his buddies got. And Charlotte Pritt was. She was sort of like the Bernie of the day. She's very, very popular. Mountaintop removal. To get access to coal was a big thing, and she was very, very popular. And Joe Manchin and his buddies, they started a campaign called Democrats for Underwood, who was the Republican pro-fossil fuel person. And they kept Charlotte out of winning. She could have. Really, that was a moment that could have really changed West Virginia. And him and his buddies were very instrumental in basically turning the Democratic Party into a pro-Republican for that campaign.
And it seems to me, maybe he didn't call it, Democrats for Capito, but it seems to me, more subtly, he worked so that Paula Jean Swearingen would not even have a chance to beat the Republican in the general election last year. She won the Democratic nomination after, her first go around against Manchin. Even against Manchin, I think she got like 40% of the vote, which...
It was about 25, 27, something like that.
Okay. She got a significant chunk for somebody that nobody knew a year before against an entrenched Democratic incumbent, but he was tweeting nice things about Shelley Moore Capito. The state Democratic Party didn't lift a finger for Paula Jean Swearingen. Again, Manchin basically runs the Democratic Party here. Apparently they're neighbors, him and Shelley Moore Capito. And she's one of those people you were describing would love to get rid of health. I'm not a big fan of the ACA, but it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
So it seems to me he's very intent to sabotage not so much a Democrat, but a progressive from getting elected.
Well, yeah, okay, that's a very good point, because I think they don't care one way or the other about, Republican, Democrat. I think they're okay with a couple progressive Democrats getting in. Morgantown, they have like 5. I'm pretty sure that'll get split up pretty soon. But they're okay having a few progressives, but they, in my opinion, the goal is to make sure there is not enough progressive Democrats to make a difference, to actually get into a majority. And so they tend to put their energy behind supporting what I consider the fossil fuel friendly Democrats.
What I consider the fossil fuckers.
Okay. And the other thing, you mentioned Paula Jean, the other 3. We had 3 women that were, and three good women who all won their primaries in the 2020 primaries. So they were in the general, and Hillary Turner, Natalie Klein, and Kathy Kunkel, and then of course you had Paula Jean running for Senate, right? So that was the year. That August was the what is it? I want to say it's not that. I think it's 100. Yeah, it was the 100-year anniversary of women's right to vote. I mean, it was like the year of the suffragette. They had 4 women from West Virginia running for Congress. They did not lift a finger to help them. I mean, even if they didn't want them to win, they could have promoted them and raised money off of that. I mean, they did not lift a finger for not one of them.
They being the West Virginia Democratic Party.
Yeah. Yes.
But they sure show up for the parades and put the bumper stickers out there. I want to ask you too, we're forgetting this. I mean, there's unbelievable rates of cancer here in West Virginia, other illnesses that come from the coal industry. So, I mean, Joe Manchin, the state party here, by continuing to essentially serve at the pleasure of the fossil fuel industry, trying to prevent things like mountaintop removal. People are getting sicker and sicker, a lot of death here, and they're basically allowing that to happen and further emboldening these same coal mining companies and fossil fuel companies. Your thoughts?
I think it's, they don't really address, you don't really hear, I'm so sick of just gloss and spin. You don't hear them speak anymore about what I'm going to do, what I'm for, where I'm going. It's, like you said, the bumper stickers and the sound bites. And that's all, that's what people are voting on for right now, is sound bites. And I think people are more awake right now than they have been in years. I think we have sat complacent and just had the attitude, well, you keep sitting back thinking the right person in the right position is going to stop this tyranny or is going to do the right thing. And you sit and watch, and they don't. And things set, people being complacent and just watching got us to the insurrection. People being put in positions of power that are not qualified, that shouldn't be there, that are dirty. There has to be some accountability from the people, for the people, and by the people.